What's going on, everybody? Welcome here back to another mock draft video. As always, my name is Justin Diedrich, and we are continuing that draft content here as we get closer to the draft season. A little PSA before we get started. We are going to be ramping up content a little bit as draft season approaches, right? Maybe 2 videos per week, most weeks if I can kind of pump that out. My schedule kind of frees up a little bit after this next week. I go on spring break. I'll be able to get more videos out for you guys. We've got some more just in the booth interviews lined up for you guys if you enjoyed that one last week with George Halfway. I'm working on more, getting some more guests on the show. And then we're also going to continue, obviously, our mock drafts. I don't want to do too many mock drafts and overdo them, right? But there's a lot of scenarios to explore. And I've written down a whole bunch of draft ideas as well on my phone, different content that we're going to do. But we'll get started here. With the first overall pick, the Chicago Bears, I'm going to continue to go Caleb Williams. I just think that's the most likely result at this point. All signs are pointing to Williams being the number 1 pick and the Bears moving on from Justin Fields. At number 2, I'm going to have the Washington Commanders go Drake May. Again, just seems very likely that they go with Drake May over Jaden Daniels at this point. I think May is more fit, more ready for a pro offense, although maybe Daniels has the athletic tools on May. It's kind of personal preference. But May is a spectacular prospect. I almost have him ranked higher than Caleb Williams. Maybe with a second rewatch, I may actually have him ranked higher than Caleb Williams. At number 3, this is where we go with Jaden Daniels. How far do I have to scroll for Jaden, or did I miss him? I have to scroll a lot for Jaden Daniels. 22? Oh, I don't know about that, PFF. Daniels at number 3. This seems like the most likely scenario for top 3 picks. Jaden Daniels here at 3 to the Patriots. Patriots need to move on from Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. Neither one of them is your franchise guy at this point. Daniels brings a lot of athletic tools. He showed a lot of improvement at his time in college, especially for that first year at LSU to that second year at LSU. Good processor. Maybe just needs to lead his receivers a little bit more. But Daniels, spectacular prospect, and the Patriots are going to get a good one there. Cardinals here on the clock at number 4. I think I'm going to give them Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, still the more likely result. Harrison at number 4. The Cardinals need a wide receiver. Marquise Brown is in free agency. Who knows if they're going to re-sign him. Michael Wilson had an okay rookie year, but I think they need another guy, and Harrison gives you that top-notch number 1 option that they really need. Back here, pick number 5, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, and I'm going to continue to go with Brock Bowers. I just think that's the most likely result. Again, a lot of this top 5... I think this top 5 is pretty solidified at this point. I think these are the first 5 you're going to see go, unless we get some really big surprises or an injury or something at a pro day. But I just think that these top 5 have kind of solidified themselves. Brock Bowers at the Chargers. Herbert needs more weapons. Bowers is more than just a regular tight end. He's a really, really great player. Harbaugh, new head coach over there in Los Angeles, loves his tight ends. We saw that at Michigan. Bowers gives him a versatile tight end weapon to work with. Giants at number 6 here. This is where I get maybe a little weird. I'm not going to go wide receiver. I'm going to go with offensive tackle, and I'm going to go with Joe Alt. I think the Giants at this point are more likely to push Evan Neal inside to guard and get a tackle. I don't think this is their quarterback in the first round. Maybe if they go with a second-round quarterback, we're only doing 1 round this mock draft, but maybe a second-round quarterback would be where I see them going if they take one this year, but I just don't think that this is the year for them to go first-round quarterback, especially when those first 3 are off the board. Now, if one of these top 3 make their way down to 6, or if the Giants trade up, then I think they might do that. Titans at number 7, I'm going to go with Rome Odunze. They need weapons. Traylon Burks hasn't worked out. Will Levis needs players to throw to. I consider offensive line here, but with Alt off the board, get a premier, fast, tall, big, deep threat in Rome Odunze, and see what you have in Will Levis by getting him a premier weapon. Falcons at number 8, this is where we're going to be our next quarterback. We're going to go with J.J. McCarthy. I think McCarthy goes top 10. The more that we get closer to the draft season and the actual draft itself here, in a little over a month or 2 months, we just get more and more reports and more belief that teams like McCarthy more than the media does and more than the fans do and the scouts. And I think McCarthy ends up being a top 10 pick, and it's not a slight on J.J. McCarthy by any means. He's a good player. He's a good prospect, but a top 10 prospect is not where I would personally take him. But looking past that, McCarthy, athletic tools are there. The arm strength is there. Wasn't asked to do a ton at Michigan, but I'm sure if he was asked to do more, he could have done it. We don't really know yet. Makes quick decisions, very athletic. The Falcons kind of fits their system. He's a similar player to Desmond Ridder athletically. So I think it just kind of fits what they already have there in Atlanta. At 9, the Bears get Malik Neighbors falling to him. Neighbors is probably my wide receiver 2 in this draft class. Electric with the ball in his hands. Great run after the catch guy. But really strong hands at the point of the catch for a deep threat. Neighbors, really, really fast as well. I think he's probably the second or third wide receiver off the board here. It's between him and Odunze, who I gave at 7. The Jets at number 10, this has to be offensive line, and no better than Tallis Fuaga. Again, you need to protect Aaron Rodgers. Fuaga had a really, really good Senior Bowl, gets pushed up the board, and I think he just makes too much sense for the Jets at 10. 11 here, I'm going to go quarterback. I'm going to go Bo Nix. The Vikings badly need a quarterback. I don't know if they're going to bring back Kirk Cousins. His asking price is really high, and you have an opportunity here to select a guy you think can be your long-term and current starter in Bo Nix. I think you do it. Then we go here at number 12 to the Denver Broncos. I'm going to go with corner, the first defensive player off the board. This is going to be Quinyon Mitchell. Had a really, really good Senior Bowl. Mitchell, my gosh, is he good? I think he's going to be the first defensive player off the board potentially. He's so talented. He can do everything for you, right? You see Toledo, but man, he covered guys at Toledo. He covered guys at the Senior Bowl, and nobody got past him except for one Roman Wilson rep at the Senior Bowl. Going here at number 13 to the Raiders, I think they just need defensive versatility in general, so that's why I'm going to go with Dallas Turner here. Giving them another edge rusher on the other side of Max Crosby. They just need more pressure on the quarterback. This is kind of a BPA situation for the Raiders, I think. Go with best player available here, and I think Turner works. The Saints at 14 is an interesting one. Seems like they're going to cut Michael Thomas, so you could really look wide receiver. You could push a guy like Brian Thomas up the board, A.D. Mitchell, but a really good combine, or even Xavier Worthy, who they have down here at rank number 69, who broke the combine record, right, for speed. The Saints need a lot, right? They really need a lot, and this is a pick that I've been struggling with going for, but I see Olu Fashanu still here on the board. You don't know about Ryan Ramczyk long-term with injuries. Trevor Penning hasn't been what you'd hoped at left tackle. You can maybe try to kick him inside, or, if Ramczyk doesn't last much longer in the league due to those injuries, you have a replacement. Fashanu, a really, really good tackle prospect. I like that for the Saints. The Colts here at 15, they franchise tagged Michael Pittman, so I'm not going to go with a wide receiver. I am going to go cornerback, however, and I'm going to go Terrion Arnold. Arnold, really, really good physical player. The Colts badly need boundary players. Arnold fits that mold exactly. Going here at 16 to the Seahawks, Leonard Williams is in free agency. Draymond Jones didn't have a good season, and I see Byron Murphy right here. Perfect fit. Murphy had a really productive season at Texas, a good combine. I think Byron Murphy is going to be pushed up higher than people think. He might even go top 15. I have him just out here at 16. Really, really great player. Fits the Seahawks mold. He's going to be that interior D-line replacement. Jags at 17. This would typically be a spot where I would go corner, like a Quinyon Mitchell or I think about a Nate Wiggins here. I definitely would. But I'm scrolling through and I see these guys and I'm like, you know what really fits the mold here for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Calvin Ridley is a free agent. You need a wide receiver. Who better to push up the board here than A.D. Mitchell, who had a spectacular combine and a really productive season over at Texas. I think Mitchell goes top 20 after that combine. He just performed so well. There's no way he doesn't push himself up after that. Bengals at 18, you got to continue to protect the quarterback. No better to go than Amarius Mims. Mims, a limited starting time at Georgia, right? So you don't have too much tape to watch at him, but really, really athletic. Good player, high motor, plays with a good pad level. I mean, he's a monster of a dude. I think the Bengals can't go wrong there with an offensive tackle. Rams here at 19. This is an easy edge rusher spot for me. This is going to be where Jared Verse comes off the board. Verse started the year as a projected top 10 pick, kind of fell a little bit. I think prospect fatigue is kind of what it's called, where you've seen him projected so high, where you start to be like, yeah, really though? But Verse is a really, really good player. He's going to come in right away and be productive. It's just kind of, what is that ceiling for a guy who's new to the position? At 20 for the Steelers, this is an easy one. They're not going to replace Kenny Pickett. They're going to protect him. They're going to go with J.C. Latham, a really, really strong guy out of Alabama. He's probably going to come into the league, and depending on what team he's playing, he'd be the strongest guy on the whole field. I mean, this dude is a monster. Dolphins at 21. O-line is where I'd normally want to go. But I'm going to give them corner today. I'm going to go Nate Wiggins. I think Wiggins is too good to fall down to 21. The Dolphins need more protection. Not protection, but coverage. They can say that's protection for their defense, the rest of their defense, right? They just need to cover better. They get beat at defense bad sometimes, and I think Nate Wiggins on the other side of Jalen Ramsey could be a deadly duo. Wiggins really, really physical, good tackler, great in coverage. I just think he needs to learn a little bit more. He's a little bit hesitant on some routes, but really great player nonetheless. Eagles at 22. This one's tough for me. This one's really tough for me. They cut Kevin Byard, so you could think about a safety here. But when you look, do you really see a safety? You don't. But you see a center to replace newly retired Jason Kelce, who will be a first ballot Hall of Famer in 2029. Jackson Powers Johnson is that center replacement out of Oregon. Had a really, really good year. Powers Johnson dominated the Senior Bowl as well. He's a really, really good player, and I think obviously Jason Kelce retiring sucks, but he's been playing for so long, got a Super Bowl. It's good to see him enjoying his retirement. Obviously, he'll be keeping up with his Kelce Brothers podcast and all that. Eagles get a replacement for a center. At 23, we get the Houston Texans. This has been wide receiver for me for a really long time. And I'm going to push up the new 40-yard dash winner in Xavier Worthy. You could think I could go for a little bit bigger of a mold in Keon Coleman here or like a Brian Thomas Jr., but if you get an elite deep threat speed guy for C.J. Stroud, oh man, with Nico Collins and Xavier Worthy on the outside with Tank Dell on the slot and Noah Brown as a rotational guy, that is deadly. Deadly offense. I love that fit there for Houston. Keep the guy in the state of Texas. Cowboys at 24. This would normally be O-line for me, but I see DeJean on the board and it just kind of fits. DeJean, a lot of people think is going to slide to safety in college or in the NFL. I think he can stick on the boundary and corner if he wants to. Really, really athletic guy. Unfortunately, had an injury towards the end of the season. But he has versatility, whether you want to play him on the outside in the nickel and the slot, or bring him in for sub packages as well as playing safety back. He can do any of that, right? I think DeJean offers good versatility. Green Bay at 25 here. I've been continuing to go offensive line, and I will continue to do that. It's going to be Tyler Guyton here. Guyton, really, really good pass protector out of Oklahoma. You don't know what you have with David Bakhtiari long term. You need a replacement for him. Guyton fits right there in at left tackle with Zach Tom on the other side, who had a really, really good rookie year. 26 here for the Buccaneers. I would have thought about a wide receiver, but Mike Evans is returning to them. So I think this is the best player available spot, and you see a lot of good players still on the board. Unfortunately, you just can't get everyone into the first round. But I'm going to go with defense. I'm going to go edge rusher here, Laiatu Latu. Maybe the best edge rusher on tape in this entire class. Unfortunately for Latu, just injuries are a concern. He had to medically retire from football once. I say that every mock draft, but it's going to be popping up again, considering his draft slot, right? It's just something you got to be concerned about. But really, really good player, using a lot of different pass rush moves, has a good plan going into his pass rush. And I think Latu is going to go first round still. 27, the Cardinals. We gave him Marvin Harrison Jr. earlier. Now I think we go defense. I think we go best defensive player available. And in my opinion, best defensive player available in this point is Braden Fisk. I'm going to push him up after an incredible combine and an incredible Senior Bowl. Fisk had a really, really good year on tape, and it just kind of went under notice until people really took notice at that combine and the Senior Bowl, and were like, damn, let me rewatch this guy, and he's really good. Fisk, I think, pushed himself into late first-round considerations. The Bills at 28. The Buffalo Bills. What do I want to do? Well, I think they see Brian Thomas Jr. still on the board here, and they're like, let me snag that up. He's a 6'4" guy who runs in the 4.4s. I mean, yeah, I'll take that. Brian Thomas Jr. gives Josh Allen another huge weapon there. The Detroit Lions are an interesting one for me, because I'd be tempted to go offense wide receiver. But I think they're good at that spot. I really, really, really want to go defense for the Detroit Lions, right? It's just a thing. You got Dan Campbell, he's a defensive coach. We'll go look here at corners. Do I really see anyone that I like for them at this spot? Kool-Aid McKinstry is a guy I'd consider. I look at edge rusher here. Chris Braswell, Chop, Darius Robinson's a really, really good player. This is tough. I'm not going to go with linebacker. I think they've got a guy. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Kool-Aid McKinstry, who I had mentioned earlier. Really long, lanky, athletic corner on the boundary for the Detroit Lions. I think they just need more help in the secondary. Kool-Aid McKinstry got targeted a lot this year at Alabama, so that's why maybe his numbers on the outside doesn't look great. But still a really, really good prospect. Has a lot of potential, a lot of room to grow and learn, and that's what you like about him. Ravens here at 30 is an interesting one for me. They need a lot, but I think Ravens are in a best player available situation. And I think, I mean, you see Johnny Newton here, who I've kind of continuously pushed down the boards just every single little bit in the mock drafts. You just don't hear about him much anymore. I think this is a classic case of that prospect fatigue that I talked about earlier. But Jason Newton, Johnny, a really, really good player. Got a lot of pass rush juice for an undersized defensive tackle. The Ravens, you can never have enough interior pass rush, right? Him and Madubuike would be really, really good. San Francisco have gone O-line a lot. They see that guy out west here in Troy Fautanu. Keep him out west. I think he could stick at tackle in the NFL if he wanted to, but a lot of teams have him projected at guard. Either way, Fautanu is really, really good. Had a great year at Washington. Maybe a little undersized. That's why they have him at guard. You know, the arm length is something they look at a lot for tackles, and maybe doesn't have the necessarily best arm length or height for the tackle position, but I think he could stick if he wanted to. Either way, San Francisco needs more interior protection. So I think for Fautanu, they draft him here as a guard because their interior got eaten alive by Chris Jones in the Super Bowl. Speaking of the Super Bowl, the champion Chiefs here at 32. What do we want to do with the Chiefs? I'm gonna have a fun pick. All right, we're gonna give them a wide receiver. They released Marquez Valdes-Scantling. We're gonna give them a wide receiver. Now let's just go over our options. Right, Tez Walker is out of the first round at this point. Xavier Legette is a guy I really, really like, and he's one I'm considering for this pick. Coleman's kind of out of the first round. Roman Wilson's out of the first round. Franklin's out of the first round. So it's really between Ladd McConkey and Xavier Legette. And I'm going to go Xavier Legette. Huge, a big body wide receiver who runs really, really fast. Fluid in space. He's a really, really important player for that team at South Carolina. I think he can come over and be a really important player in the Chiefs offense, right? You just get Patrick Mahomes, another speedy guy who's good with the ball in his hands, who's tall, built athletically. Legette would be a perfect fit in that offense for the Kansas City Chiefs. Looking back here at our results, right? We had 4 quarterbacks go in this first round, a lot of wide receivers, a lot of offense. That's just kind of what this draft is. Of course, this is a mock draft, so things could be wrong. In fact, this is probably going to be very wrong, but we'll see more as we get to draft time. But that is going to be it for this video. If you guys want to keep up with more draft content, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications so that you don't miss any episodes, and I will see you all in the next video.